Hello again, third graders at Northside. This is Mrs. Kimbrell. I've really enjoyed reading to y'all each week, and I hope that this is helping you with your mentor sentence and your skills, all of those grammar skills that you have to learn this year. And we hope that we can get y'all in the classroom at some point, obviously to do this in class, but I've enjoyed doing this with you. So our book for this week is My Rotten Redheaded Older Brother. The author is Patricia Poloco, and if you want to write the AR test code down real quick, it's 11383. 11383. Okay, let's take a look at our sentence that goes with this book. Sorry, that took so long. Okay, so the sentence that we are looking for today is, Richard gave me one of his extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grins. Why don't you read that with me? Richard gave me one of his extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grins. Okay, so when we come to that sentence in the book, give me a thumbs up. All right, so let's get into it. This is my rotten redheaded older brother. My brother and our mother and I all lived with my grandparents on their farm in Union City, Michigan. Now, my babushka, my grandmother, knew lots of things. She knew just how to tell a good story. She knew how to make ordinary things magical. And she knew how to make the best chocolate cake in Michigan. After she told my brother and me a grand tale from her homeland, we'd always ask, Bubby, is that true? She'd answer, of course it's true, but it may not have happened. Then she'd laugh. So babushka is another word for grandmother. Now, I knew that she loved me all right, but I couldn't quite understand how she could even like my older brother, Richard. He had orange hair that was like wire. He was covered in freckles and looked like a weasel with glasses. The one thing that my Bubby didn't seem to know was how perfectly awful my brother really was. Mind you, he was always nice whenever she was around us, but as soon as she'd leave, he would do something terrible to me and laugh. There were so many things that I couldn't stand about him. The worst was that he was always telling me he could do just about everything better than I. Bet I can pick more blackberries than you can, he jeered at me one day. No, you can't. Can so. Cannot. Can, he whispered. Not, I said louder. Can, he whispered so low that I could hardly hear him. Not, I screamed back. We both picked berries for most of the afternoon. Well, he upped and did it. He not only picked more berries than I, he set a record that wasn't even challenged for the next 10 years. You make me sick, Richard Barber, I yelled at him. Then he smiled that smile that only a rotten red-headed older brother could smile. I guess I would have to face it. He could run the fastest, climb the highest, throw the farthest, sit the longest, get the dirtiest, burp the loudest, and spit the farthest. He had no equal, certainly not me, and I'm 4 years older than you. Always have been and always will be, he sneered. So here's him doing some of those things. I'm trying to get you to see the pictures of all the things he can do better than his sister. There had to be something something I could do that he couldn't. Then an inspired thought comforted me like a fresh breeze on a hot summer day. "Oh, Richie," I cooed as I stood next to the rhubarb bushes. "Do you like rhubarb?" "No," he said. "It's the sourest stuff on this planet." Now I knew, at long last, that I had him. "Bet I can eat more of this raw rhubarb than you can without getting the puckers," I challenged. "I don't think so." "I do." "I don't," he said, narrowing his eyes. "I do," I insisted. "Don't," he hissed, looking smug. "Do," I said furiously, as I grabbed the first stalk and started chewing it almost down to the leaf. Ew, rhubarb. If you've ever had rhubarb, most people do not like it. It is an acquired taste. When I couldn't get one more sour bite into my mouth, he was still eating with relish. "I thought you said you don't like rhubarb," I said through pursed lips. "I don't like it. I love it," he announced as he popped the last stalk into his mouth. I was so mad, I couldn't even feel how my belly was starting to ache. "I can't stand you, Richard Barber. I double dog can't stand you," I screamed as I went into the house to be consoled by my grandmother. "Yeah, and I'm 4 years older than you too, you little twerp. Always have been and always will be," he called after me. Then he laughed that rotten red-headed older brother laugh. That night at dinner, I could hardly eat. "Have you been eating angry apples again, child?" Bubby asked as she sliced me a huge wedge of rhubarb pie. "I baked your favorite." Richard gave me one of his extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grins. There it is. There's your sentence. Now look at this picture. Why is he greeny-toothed? He's eating that rhubarb again, and of course they've eaten it all day, so she doesn't want any more. At bedtime, my Bubby came and sat on the edge of my bed like she did every night. "Look, a falling star," she said. We watched it streak across the sky. Then she spit twice between her fingers and gave her chest a loud slap. "Why did you do that, Bubby?" I asked. "I was making a wish. Didn't you know that wishes on falling stars come true?" At last, I knew how I was going to get back at my brother. For the longest time, I watched the dark sky until I saw a star shoot across the night. Then I spit between my two fingers and slapped my chest. It was done. My wish was to do something, anything, better than my brother. I'd show him. The next morning, all I could think about was my wish. I was thinking about it so hard, I almost didn't notice the wagons and trucks pulling into the field down the road near Four Corners. "A traveling carnival," my brother shouted as he ran toward me. "They're setting up right here in our field." "Bet I can eat more hot dogs than you can," he teased. He was already starting it. But this time, I was going to do something so incredible that even he would have to sit up and take notice. I had a star wish. I'd show my rotten red-headed older brother all right. So a carnival is coming to their town. Let's see what she's going to do. That night, I ran straight for the merry-go-round. We must have taken 50 turns on that carousel. But then my brother got off. I stayed on. I went around and around and around. "I knew I could do this longer than you," I shouted to my brother, feeling proud but just a bit dizzy. "Tricia," I heard my Bubby call out. "Get off that thing. It's time to go home." Let me stand up and turn my lights back on. Sorry about that. I was so still that my lights went off in my classroom. Pardon me. The last thing I remembered was stepping off from the platform. Next thing I knew, I woke up with Bubby sitting on the edge of my bed. Mom and Grandpa were there too. You gave us all a fright, Mama said. How do you feel? What happened? I asked. Okay, let's stop right there. She was on a merry-go-round, and then the last thing she remembered was stepping off the platform. What do you think happened? Let's make a prediction. She passed out, didn't she? She got so dizzy. If you've ever been there, you may have been there before where you get so dizzy that it just makes you pass out. Oh no, but she's okay. That's a good thing. Let's see what happened. You fell, my rotten red-headed older brother announced with the biggest grin on his face. I don't know what we would have done, my Bubby said softly. Your brother carried you all the way home, and then he had to run to get Dr. Lee. Oh, so is the big brother rotten all the time, or did he take care of his sister? He took care of her this time, didn't he? He carried her all the way to the doctor. You had to have stitches. I watched it all, he said excitedly. You fell off the merry-go-round, right into some pop bottles, my Gramps added. You even passed out, my brother chirped. Looks like you finally did something special. It was from that exact moment that our relationship changed somehow. Thanks, Richie, I said to him. What's the big brother for anyway? He said, blushing. That night, we were all out in the yard. On hot Michigan nights, it was my family's custom to sleep outside, where it was cool. Look at those stars, Bubby said quietly. Wishes are funny, aren't they? I said. Sometimes they come true differently than you think they will. That's why you have to be very careful what you wish for. It just may come true, Bubby said. Then she squeezed both of our hands. Hang on to the grass, she whispered. Why, Bub? My brother asked. Because if we don't, we might float up to the stars. Then she leaned over and kissed us both 3 times. I kiss your eyes and I hold both of your hearts in my good keeping. And this night, I thank God that I walked this earth with both of you. Amen. Then we all just lay on our blankets in the gentle summer night. I'll always be 4 years older than you, though, my brother whispered softly. Then he smiled. All of us held one another's hands, and then we all drifted off to sleep. The end. So many of you probably have siblings, and you understand what this is all about. You know, you fight and you argue, but when it comes down to it, you do love your brothers and sisters, and you care for them, and you would not let anything happen to them. The same thing for my children. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you again, and we're going to go over some skills with this book. So there's your sentence again. We're going to scroll down and look at the lesson for the day, okay? A lot of this is review from the weeks that I've been doing. So let's just look at it. Here's your mentor sentence again. We're going to talk about complete subject, complete predicate, and simple subject and simple predicate, and the difference between the two. If you notice how I've color-coded everything, Richard is not only your complete subject this time, it's also your simple subject because it's the only word in the subject. And sometimes that happens. Richard is who the sentence is about. Okay? So it's your complete it's your complete subject, and it's also your simple subject because your simple subject is the noun or the pronoun that the sentence is about. Remember, the subject can be found when you look just for a noun. Okay? Then you see all the blue. All of the blue is your complete predicate. That tells what happened. It's the verb and the rest of the sentence. Okay? But your simple predicate, as you see here in orange, is just the verb and the verb only. It's the main verb in the sentence, and that verb would be gave. Okay? So simple predicate is gave, but your complete predicate is gave in the rest of the sentence. Remember, the predicate starts with a verb and it can be one or more words. So this mentor sentence is a simple declarative sentence. It's simple because it's just telling us something that Richard does, and it has one simple subject, which is Richard, and one simple predicate, which is Gabe. One noun, one verb. That's how you know it's simple. You know it's declarative because it's just telling something that Richard does in the book. Okay? So now that we know that it's declarative, let's review those other types of sentences that we've been learning about. Okay? Remember, you have declarative, like you see here. It just makes a statement and it ends with a period. Remember that an interrogative sentence asks a question. It's going to end with a question mark. An imperative sentence gives a command. It is bossy, bossy, bossy. And it's going to end with a period. Exclamatory shows excitement and strong feeling. And it's going to end with an exclamation mark. Okay? That is review. And you will also have some examples on that today on your practice. So I just wanted to make sure I went over those well. The one part of speech to know with this book that we're focusing on are adjectives. We have gone over adjectives earlier in this over the past couple of weeks. Remember that adjectives are words that describe nouns. We see adjectives in our title. She describes her brother as rotten, redheaded, and older in the title, My Rotten Redheaded Older Brother. So rotten, redheaded, and older describe the brother. So those would be adjectives. Also in the sentence, we've got extra rotten, weasel-eyed, and greeny-toothed. All three of those are adjectives that describe his grins in the book. They describe that noun, okay? Last thing of the day, punctuation to pay attention to. Yes, you have your 4 types of sentences, but sometimes there's punctuation within the sentence. In this sentence, you see commas. You also saw commas with Saturdays and tea cakes. Commas are used to list things or phrases in a sentence, and the skill is called commas in a series, okay? We do this so we don't use and every time and so that your sentence does not get too repetitive. So let's see how they used commas in a series here. This is a skill that we will do this year. You see where those commas are? We've got extra rotten, comma, weasel-eyed, comma. There's only 2 commas used, okay? Because here's the deal. If you have 3 things in your list, you only need 2 commas, okay? And sometimes and is used before that last thing in your list, so you don't need it. So let's say you had 5 things in your list. There would be 4 commas. That's how you work out commas in a series. We will be getting to that skill later in the year, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that it was in last week's sentence and this week's sentence. So just take note of that, okay? All right, so I hope this was helpful to you. I'm sorry about the lights going out. I hope that y'all are enjoying these videos and have a wonderful week. Goodbye.